Detours, brought to you by Sports and Spokes, the magazine for wheelchair sports and recreation. It's hard to believe that at only 28 years old, Rose Hollermann has played in her fourth Paralympics in Paris. As co-captain of Team USA Women's Wheelchair Basketball, Hollermann now added a silver medal to the gold she earned in Rio and the bronze she took home from the Games in Tokyo just 3 years ago. Welcome, Rose.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hey, Rose, it was so interesting as I was learning a little bit about your story. Wow, what a path you've been on. You know, from that crazy car accident at 5 years old to a four-time Paralympian and a three-time medalist. Do you pinch yourself sometimes at the journey you've been on?
Yeah, I'm definitely grateful that, as you said, something that happened in my life that was bad turned out to be something that has been so good within my life. And I'm just really grateful that I've been able to go to so many Paralympics and enjoy the experiences.
Over the course of those Paralympics, the three that you've been to so far, is there one that sticks out in your mind and for any particular reason?
No, I think they're all unique for their own reasons. Like London was my first games, so it was so new and shiny and a beautiful experience. I think, of course, in 2016, we came home with gold, and that was just a dream come true as an athlete. That's what you achieve for your whole life. I think in Tokyo, it was a weird Paralympics because it was the COVID Paralympics and no fans, and we were just excited that the games were going on. And I think we really fought for that bronze medal, so it was really special. And I think after Paris, it's so hard to reflect on it because it's just happened. It feels like yesterday we ended, but I think they're all special for different reasons.
You know, Rose, we're going to go back to the Paralympics, but as we were talking, you were mentioning you're living in Germany now, and you're playing ball in the European leagues. And it seems to me what you're indicating is that over there you get an opportunity to play in co-teams, so you've got men and women playing against one another. And I remember interviewing Mariska Berger, and she was talking about how playing against the men sometimes really, or she felt it improved her game. Do you feel that as well?
Yeah, for sure. I think you have to be physically stronger to be able to keep up. You have to be faster, quicker. But I also think that mentally you have to be more engaged with the game because physically you're not going to be able to like outmaneuver guys just because of genetics and how they're built. So I think you have to be a smarter player. And that's something that I think has really helped me in the women's game.
So when it comes down to getting back to the Paralympics, now you've met some of these people a little bit more frequently. So playing in Europe, is there anything in particular that you learned from their style of play?
I don't know if it's wheelchair basketball is such a small community that I think we have the opportunities to learn from each other so much that I wouldn't say moving over to Europe has been something that I've gotten to learn tons from them. I think the training opportunities are really great. They take little things really seriously and try to do things perfect all the time. I think maybe that's something.
Huh. So at only 28 years old, you've been a four-time Paralympian. You've got one gold, one silver, and one bronze. You're 5'8", which makes you a pretty tall woman out on the court. So you're a presence. And as I started to watch the games a little bit more, I noticed that there was a lot of isolation on you. Did you feel as though at some point during the games you were getting worn down from, not necessarily being beat up, but by having to work so hard?
Yeah, definitely. The game in general is becoming so competitive. I think this is the most competitive Paralympics that I've been to, that 1 through 8 of the teams going there are competitive with one another. So you felt every day, every game was really high level. But I also think something really cool that's come that has been very recent in my career is all the research and dedication to the recovery side of the games and the sport and the sports medicine access that we have. So I think although during games I felt more beat up, I think during the whole duration of this Paralympics it was feeling the most recovered that I felt at a games, just because of all the research and dedication that our medical side has put into recovery.
as well with the change in coaching staff. You picked up Coach Schwab. And what was it that she brought to the table that you think was an attribute that helped kick the team forward?
Um, like Joy, I think she's really passionate about basketball. A lot of us have played with her in years past on different teams, so we know that like she just loves the sport, and I think that type of like we needed that joy a little bit as a team, like being creative when we're playing basketball, playing for each other, like just I mean, in a way, like basketball is supposed to be like an art piece. I think sometimes people can be a little bit too rigid with it, but I think she gave us that part back to it, the creativity that you can see with the game.
I'm thinking back to the last Paralympics, and I was looking at a couple of different videos and things that had been posted on you, and you've been described by as your prior coach, Trooper Johnson. He said that you were a basketball junkie. Uh, is, is this just so deep in your blood? Because I can see you tried other sports as a kid coming up, through the ranks. What was it about basketball?
Um, yeah, I'm definitely a basketball junkie. I think like the sport is amazing, but the thing is that that's kept me so dedicated to it, and so I mean kind of obsessed with the sport is like the fact that you get teammates and you get people that you get to work towards with each other. It's fun to kind of have that interaction, those friendships, those bonds with your coaches, your teammates, and I think that's kind of the thing that keeps me so in love with the game.
I think it's crazy when I look back at your career and I see in 2011, at only 16 years old, you became the first person to make the national team at that age. What was it like at 16 years old to, be facing off against women who were much older than you?
Well, I was 15. It was
Wow.
uh I mean, I think when you're that young and that, like you're naive, right? Like when I was at that age, I don't think it was until I was past like being a teenager that I like could reflect back and kind of see how impactful and how meaningful and how much that changed my life. I think like I was just a kid having fun playing a sport, not really realizing like what I was going up against. Of course, I had like role models and people that I really admired and looked up to that I got to play against, and I was always really excited about that, but never really felt the actual pressure of it all. Too young to process.
Well, it seems like you had a really good support system. I know, some of the women that you played with who have been around for quite some time. We talked to Natalie Schneider, who's played on 5 Paralympic teams, Becca Murray, Lindsay Zerbrug, and you've got so many good foundational players who have given you their knowledge and supported you along the way.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like feeding in again, like why I love this sport so much is you always have people you get to learn from. I think like Desiree Miller is someone that was on my first team in 2011 that I got to play with until 2016. I think like she's a great example of, and probably the woman that impacted my game the most. She's a 3-5, so the same classification. And then now she's our assistant coach with Team USA. I think it's awesome to have those players. It's great to have like, Natalie Schneider and Becca Murray that I've been on a team with since 2011 that you know each other so well and you can bounce ideas back and forth on each other and like just having that relationship is awesome.
We'd like to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Sports and Spokes Magazine. For nearly 50 years, they've produced stories on iconic athletes performing at the top of their game, given generational coverage of sports dating back to the 1970s, and they've shown the way with exciting and timeless magazine cover shots. To stay on top of all the latest news from the world of high performance adaptive sports, go to sportsandspokes.com. Sports and Spokes, the magazine for wheelchair sports and recreation. Speaking of the team and as you were mentioning it and all the support and whatnot, there has to have been some very unique characteristics about this squad that went to Paris. What were they?
Um, Something that was a little bit unique about this Paris squad was we actually were so 10 of us were together in Tokyo just because it was such a short quad. You saw that all the girls stayed again and they went to the next game. So I think it was kind of unique that we had that much time with one another. I mean, like you always have like teams that you come together. Like in 2016 we came together, and some of us were new, some of us had been there before, but like we all really liked each other and we had a great connection. But I think this was really special because we've been now the same group together since 2018. All of us have been together, so I think just kind of that, it creates more of a sisterhood, more of a family type of dynamic, and I think that's something that was really unique and special with this group.
Well, it certainly reflected because you guys played super well. And I'm just looking at some of the stats from the games that you guys played in Paris. And wow, I mean, you played a ton of minutes. I'm just looking back against Germany in the opening round, 27 minutes. You played the full game against the Netherlands the first time around, the whole 40 minutes. You scored 21 points, 9 rebounds. 22 minutes against Japan. In the quarterfinal against GB, you played 37 minutes. Then again, 40 minutes against China in the semi, and there you are, 37 minutes. You must have been completely exhausted by the end of the games.
Yeah, I mean, it's Paralympics, so at least the good thing was that we got a break afterwards. I think like trained all summer, kind of anticipating that I'd get heavy minutes at the Paralympics. So I tried to do like I said like a 10K a day was what I would try to do during training. So just like trying to be prepared for that.
As a 3.5, you're a pretty high level value player. So obviously you've got to play your heart out. Everyone's looking to you. You've got to be the everything. I mean, they're definitely feeding you the ball inside the paint. So discuss some of the particular characteristics that you think that you bring to the floor personally.
Um, I mean, I think like one of like the biggest thing that my job is to bring to the floor is kind of like you said, I'm a 3.5, so I'm a higher classification, but also like my job is to match up with their highest classification, which typically in wheelchair basketball, a lot of lineups, a lot of teams run like a 4-5-4-5 or 4-5-4 lineup that you see. So I'm actually, most of the time my job is to like defend classifications that are more able-bodied than me. So I think like on court, that's one of the most valuable things I bring to the team, is it then it allows us to play a higher classification, like rather than a 1-0, we play a 2-0. So we have a bit more of a shooter on the offensive side and a bit more mobility in the full court defensively. So I think,
So so essentially, I mean, what you're really talking about is the Netherlands team, Kramer being the 4.5 and Berger being the 4.0. So
mhm.
when it comes down to it, as you look at the team, and maybe not necessarily, you wouldn't really call it rebuilding because you guys are already very solid, but how is it that you level that playing field? They're going to be coming back to you guys in just maybe, another 3.5 years, you're going to be facing off against them once again. So is this more you need to add players or another addition to your team, or do they need to sort of come back to you? How does this work?
um, I mean, I think like we'll like another special moment. I think we'll get to like bring mostly the same squad to LA. I think with the home Paralympics, everyone is so excited about it that you'll see a lot of the girls in Paris will come back and compete in LA. So I think, I mean, we just like we were right there in terms of the gold medal game. I think like we let a couple things slip. Like we started out really strong at the beginning and then we let the momentum die. I think like a lot of the things that killed our momentum, it aren't things about us like individually as players or skill set wise or any of that. I think it was just like the time that we get together. The Netherlands live together almost full time, year round. They're together playing basketball all the time. And I think there were moments during that game where you could see that we only get to see each other on weekends. Every other week we get to see each other and we're not living with one another, and like really getting to break down concepts like they're able to do when they're together 5 days a week. So I think
No, go ahead.
trying to like use resources and really like hone in on our defensive concepts, how we want to stop certain things, what we're going to do is what's going to be the difference. And I think like they're going to stay the same going into LA, and we're only going to have more time together, more time like learning those concepts, honing in on what we need to do and figuring things out.
And I noticed right away that that Exalt Gonzalez is, she's well on her way to being a star. This has already been discussed with Coach Schwab and Lindsay. I mean, she's coming up. It's really obvious that I think if Exalt, and tell me because you're the basketball expert, but she puts on a few more pounds, she gets a little bit more confidence, she's going to be a really huge force for the U.S. team.
Yeah, and I mean, I think she showed that in Paris. Also, she showed like how valuable she can be to a team, how much she brings. I mean, she just like moves her chair so well. She's so fiery. She's so consistent with her shot. I think like definitely her having just 4 more years of playing basketball, I think that's going to be a huge difference for us because she's going to be that much more knowledgeable. I mean, she's also a basketball junkie, so she's watching film, she's learning, she's constantly getting better. I think by that point, I hope she'll finish college, she'll move over to Europe, play in the men's league for a little bit, and that'll just naturally get her stronger, even faster, even quicker, and that'll be huge for us as a team.
What's happening now with the NCAA is that they're starting to integrate more adaptive sports within their educational programs as well. So there could actually potentially be more players coming up through the system now that will even strengthen the system more.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the NCAA is kind of the getting funneled by our grassroots program. I think the NWBA, who's our like kind of our governing umbrella body, I think they're doing a great job right now, like strengthening our board, strengthening like what they're giving resources out to people. I think that'll make a huge difference. Like the juniors programs within the US and how those are getting stronger are going to be the thing that's going to end up hopefully giving us more access to players.
Roses, we were waiting for you to come on. You got lost doing your homework, and which brings me to a quote I found from you, which I thought was really good. You said, "As an athlete, we get taught every day you're supposed to do something to improve yourself and be a better version of you. I think education is the best way to do that." So that being said, first of all, I applaud you, but education, I mean, this has really become a key. One of the things I've seemed to really notice as I've been interviewing more and more adaptive athletes is that you're really smart. I mean, you guys really you apply yourselves, and education is critically important, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I have to also say that because I have a degree in teaching and I'm getting more degrees in teaching. But I think like adaptive athletes, people with disabilities always have to be adaptive. I think a lot of times that leads to a higher intelligence or higher like resourcefulness, which is also really important in education. I think, yeah, school is so important. Also, like education and learning doesn't have to just be for textbooks and classes and computers and stuff. It's something that you can do yourself outside of it. I think like I have also like around me on my current team great examples of that all the time, like people learning languages or like reading a book or educating yourself on basketball, like watching film and using it in an educational platform rather than just watching it for fun, I think is really useful. And something that like I try to remember every day, that it's just not my classes or the textbooks that help me get smarter. It's also myself and what I decide to spend my time on.
Undoubtedly, Rose, I really want to thank you for your insights. You've got a silver, you've got a gold, you got a bronze. I know you're coming back for another games. How many more games can we expect? I know we got 2028 in there. How many more?
I would love to be able to do 2032, but I'll have to see where life has me at that point. I think like as an athlete, you take it every 4 years.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rose.
Thank you.